for the board. When we get to the budget comment, I'll have my screen shared, so it'll be up for everybody to talk and see and work from. And I also have the same for robotics board.
All right, young man, you should be ready to go.
All right, thank you. All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the November 6th, 2023 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors workshop meeting, and I'll call it to order at 7:02 p.m. In attendance are myself, Chairman David Gerstenhaber, Vice Chair Donna D., Supervisors Dowling and Torres. Also in attendance is the Operations Manager, Jeff Eastburn, and our Township Secretary, Stacy Hollis. And we have one member of the public in attendance. And we'll have Melissa Ortega joining us later in the meeting. So let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we can move to our public comment section. Public comment may include any comments relating to tonight's agenda items. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a resident of the township or a non-resident taxpayer of the township. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. And I don't believe we have any members of the public. So with that, I can move on to our bid package discussion. So before we do that, do we want to just do a quick switch and do the robotics presentation first, so Rachel doesn't have to sit through our bid package discussion?
I think that'd be very nice for
anyone
Rachel.
Have an issue with that? Unless you're interested in snow plow bid packages. If you are, you can stick around. It's up to you.
No, I appreciate the presenting first. That's fine with me.
All right. So why don't we do that, and I'll bring. Did you have anything that you wanted to share?
Yes, I was going to present our platform and go over the tools and look over the data itself.
Perfect. So I will stop sharing, and Jeff, can you give Rachel?
You should be able to share, sir.
Great.
Yep. Okay. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, looks good.
Great. All right, so I'm not sure if any of you have used Roadway besides Jeff, but the point here is to go over what we've been working on. Right now you are looking at the 2023 assessment. We also have the 2020 assessment. I have it pulled up as well, which I'll go back and forth so you can see the improvements that we've made or Jeff has made. But really just going over what the platform is and then different tools as well. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you will also have access to this and be able to see the ratings as well. Is that what the plan was, Jeff?
Absolutely. So Dave and Donna are established board members, and then I sent the invites out to the rest of the board and Melissa and Stacy today.
Okay, great. Yeah, so if you go over this and have any questions afterwards, feel free to contact Jeff or me directly. And I can help you with anything, any questions, any issues related to the platform. But looking at the data here, so when you pull up the Roadway platform, you will have a bird's eye view of your road network. So right now what we're looking at is the segments. So the segments are intersection to intersection ratings. So that includes driveways, anything of the sort. You're going to get the ratings for intersection to intersection. Up at the top left here, we have the road network score. So 1.7 or 1.72. You have your centerline mileage as well. You can search a certain road by the address. And down here, so you can see the segments, all of them are on. There aren't any 4 or 5s, which I think is a great thing. And then we have our points as well. So once you select the points, it will populate with a little bit, different ratings, different colors that will show up here. So the points themselves are every 10-foot images of what we recorded for the data. So every 10-foot image makes up the segment score. So that's how we get the, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. So here, let's just select this road, Schoolhouse Road. So once you select on a segment or a point, it'll zoom in and you can see your virtual driver over here. Let me move the bar out of the way real quick. So you see your virtual driver over here. It gives you an image. So every 10 feet, you can virtually drive down the road as it was driven. It'll give you the longitude, latitude, the date it was recorded, the direction that you're driving, and also, of course, the road name. And then above it has the different ratings. So as you drive over different ratings, it'll change as well on the top there. So let me zoom out. So you're able to toggle the ratings. So say you wanted to just see the roads that you wanted to work on. So we'll turn the points off here. And usually 3s are a good candidate for a pavement management program. You want to take care of those before they turn into a 4 or a 5. So you're able to toggle these off and on to see where your, areas of concern. And then again, you can see the images within that segment as well.
Like Southview Estates. Yep.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I just a road comment. I said that looks like Southview Estates. I just looked up. Sorry.
So in this situation, this is probably a pretty good situation to look at. The software is saying, hey, I'm seeing these cracks that have been filled. Does that automatic that's what it's seeing, right? It's seeing these cracks that have been repaired.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Jeff, probably the question might be more for Jeff. This doesn't necessarily mean that this road needs to be repaired. It doesn't look nice because it's got a bunch of I forget what that sealant is called. I guess it's called sealant.
Right.
Road sealant, right? But that not necessarily means that it needs to get repaired. It just means that it had some cracks that we resealed.
Correct, sir. And that will be part of Ron and I driving this and me ultimately walking it to see how tight the seams are and what it looks like.
Right. That looks good.
Yeah, so this one here, the road is in great condition, but it does pick up I think that's like a pothole there on the right.
Yeah.
So you drive over it as well. You can also toggle the points. So if you wanted to look at those 4 or 5 points, you can find where your road's probably like a pothole or unraveling is happening there as well. So I wanted to go over the tools quickly and then kind of compare the 2020 assessment and 23 assessment as well, just to show you the improvements. But okay. All right, so let me turn the points off again, turn all the segments on. So say you wanted the data for a certain area of your neighborhood or a certain ward or whatever you would call them. You can developments, okay. Everyone calls them something different.
Yeah, I know.
So you can either click and drag, you can make a polygon around these areas, or you can select them separately by segment. So let's just do a click and drag here. And we built this feature off of client requests. So, something that they would use in an ArcGIS platform or another GIS platform. This is a tool that they can really use. So here, it'll give you the names that you select, or the road names that you selected, the length, and the average score. And you're also able to export this as a CSV as well. And upon the delivery of the assessment, I gave Jeff the CSV for all of the roads in the network, as well as a shapefile as well that you can import into another GIS platform. So
you said something about comparing it to a couple years ago. Are you able to do that on the screen? Or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we have, looking at 2023, and then we have 2020 here. So off to the left here, it'll look a little different. This is when we had a different offer, which we no longer have, which is IDI. So it's just a little bit more in depth, or just gives you different ratings from 1 through 100 instead of what we have now, 1 through 5 ratings.
Melissa Ortega.
Join the meeting.
So disregard that, but the ratings are all, nothing has changed with the ratings. Well, not now that they're different assessments. Yes, the ratings are different, but yeah, this is the only difference here is just the 1 through 100 ratings that you're giving.
Hey, Rachel, can I ask you a question kind of related to Donna's question? And that is, when you consider, generally speaking, rural roads, the traffic associated with them, how long does it take if a road is neglected to go from green to yellow and then yellow to red, on average?
I mean, depending on the traffic weight, or the weight of the traffic on that road, if it's the weather, so if you're, all these factors that play into it, and maybe I would see, I mean, depending on, I guess how often that you scan these roads. So sometimes we have people do them every 2 years, every 3 or 5, just depending. But I would say a few years, but that is not it's kind of a guesstimation there, but
I think it depends. To help answer Stefan's question, it really depends on a number of factors. So when you put the road in, it's a 15-year road, right? That's what they estimate is going to be 15. But then at 10 years, usually we're fixing it. Then if you got a bad winter, it could be a 2-year road. So, so what we decided, Stefan, when we started this, and obviously you can see it now, we didn't want to do a robotics study every year because, I think what you're alluding to is we don't have that much traffic. Our roads don't get that much abuse, other than the state roads. Probably 896, for example, would be a road that gets a lot of abuse. Appleton Road gets a lot of abuse. So what we decided was we're going to give this a trial shot in 2020. Found it incredibly useful. I think the board found it very useful, particularly around planning our road program for the next 3 years. And that's what we decided to do, is we wanted to have a 5-year road plan. These are the roads that we want to work on over the 5 years, and then do a checkup every 3 years to make sure that we're still on track and doing the right things. And so this is that step, right? This is that step, is to say, how did we do? Did we pick the right roads? Are we in good shape? And so far,
Yeah.
I mean, this was from 3 years ago, and we had a significant number of I don't think we had any 5s at the time, but we had 25% of the roads were either a 3 or a 4. And I think now 10% of our roads are 3s with very little 4s. So we made a huge dent in the last 3 years. Huge dent.
Yeah, and one of the roads here, it's Old Schoolhouse Road I picked out. It also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it went from a, 5 year road to 3 year road. And, it also just stood out to me as well, is that, it w for 3, 4, and 5 to now it's, all one. So it's
Yep.
great, freshly paved.
Which is good because we did it. I'd be really annoyed if it was in bad shape after we repaved it this year.
Right. And even the overall network score from 2020 was 2.4, and then it went up to 1.72. So definitely an improvement there.
Yeah.
So are we gonna, Jeff, do you want to point out where the reds are, or we'll do that later, or do we need Rachel here to do that, or is?
No, we don't. I mean, Rachel can stay on as long as she wants, but we just got this last week,
Okay,
Ron and I. So Donna, I already have my list.
okay,
Ron's going to have to come up with his. Both Ron and I have spoken about probably where next year's budget is going. So we're going to do this based on what we have to do
okay.
and go from there. The other thing is, I apologize. I was talking to someone on the phone. We are going to consider those stormwater projects too.
Right.
We are going to have to do some testing based on what Ron is telling me before we dip in too far onto those.
So are you prepared tonight to tell us what are the roads that, in your opinion, need to be done, or and like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be roads. It could just be projects, right? Road projects. Are you prepared for that tonight, or you're not yet? You're not
Well,
yet.
I will give you the 3 on my list, which is a draft list,
Okay.
which could very well change after I talk with Ron.
So could you do that, and then maybe Rachel zoom in on where they are in the robotics? Is
Sure.
that okay?
Cavender Lane starting from Walker Road. Kimbolot Lane starting from 896.
Well, just do one at a time. So
One
this
at a time,
is
yeah.
Cavender Lane.
So can you search for roads, Rachel, or do you just kind of have to know where it is?
Yep, right here. I'm typing it in right here on the left.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way.
I was just because I know where it is, but yeah, there you go.
If you can start from Walker, which will be south of where your mouse is.
You got
There
it
we go.
right there.
Okay, so I see. Okay, so that makes sense. You're picking up some of the yellows and the reds. Okay.
So if you could walk along there, please.
Yep.
So while we're doing this, just the way this is done for folks on the line, Jeff actually drives our road system with a camera phone.
You can stop there, Rachel.
Mounted to his dashboard, and takes these photos. You can kind of see the front of his truck there, and these photos are taken via cell phone and uploaded to the machine learning server.
Okay.
So this is what I would say the worst of it. And
Okay.
one of the things I wanted to look at, Dave, is too, instead of maybe doing the whole road, that we do a section of the road. Again, this is all very, very preliminary.
Right.
Nothing is
Yeah, I'm not
set
going
in
to hold you
stone.
to it.
Nothing.
But this is a good, but it's also a good example of where this tool's useful,
Yes.
right? Like here it is. This is what we're talking about. This is where it is. This is why it's red, right? That
I can tell you that I stopped there and talked to that young man 2 days ago, and he'd be ecstatic.
So it looks like there's some damage to the curbing as well there, or is
Yeah.
that just overgrowth?
Well, there's overgrowth, Dave, and then we have to keep in mind this development was put in probably the early to mid 80s.
Okay.
So there's wear and tear to that.
25
as
years.
well.
Okay. All right. Who's next on your list?
Kimberlot Lane from 896, please.
Going back to Jeff, what you were saying, when you're talking about doing sections, using Cavender here as an example, would we do just the red section, or would we do the red and the yellow? Because there's got to be a cost for mobilizing and demobilizing a crew. That would make sense to do the red and the yellow at the same time.
Correct. And that's one of the things we'll need to look at. And what I try to do, Stefan, with this is picking things that are closer together, like Cavender and Kimbolot. And then the other one was a portion of Parsons. So trying not to go from one end of the township to the other, but again, this is very subjective right now. I need to walk it, Ron and I need to drive it together.
Right. But I see, I mean, but it's interesting how it all lines up with the colors. The yellows are there, and you'll have a better, when you walk it, you have a better sense of how good these seams are holding together or not.
Absolutely.
Right.
Did you have one more, Jeff?
There was a small section of Parsons, sir, from
Okay.
896. It would just kind of complete the, I hate to use the word puzzle, but we got one more section on Parsons. And you can see that there.
Oh, yeah,
there
right
it is.
there.
Okay.
You know, it just makes sense if we're doing Kimbalot to do this. There's a lot of
Yeah.
alligatoring through that picture.
Okay.
On the
And
side.
that's, yeah, I get, okay, I see it.
Oh, yeah, you can see it
I
now.
feel like
Yeah.
this Parsons Road is, like you said, we've been piecemealing this every year. There's
Yep.
the sections that have been deteriorating are not connected.
Well, this
Look at it,
this
it's
would go a
horrible.
long way
Yeah.
if the board decides to do that.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
And again, Stefan, the thing is, this is a tool in the toolbox. We're taking a top view of this, so we don't know what's underneath. And at some point, we may want to do some core samples.
Sure.
That's not a given, but we may want to.
Great. And also too, you'll see some like gray areas as well. Those are unpaved roads. So any roads that are unpaved, gravel, brick, dirt, sand, you know, you could still have the inventory for those, the imagery, but we won't provide ratings for that. And it also doesn't affect your network rating as well. But you know, so if you had like a trail of some sort, or dirt road, you'll still have the imagery. And I know they were somewhere here.
Well, and the other thing is too, the gray roads will also be the state roads. So anything highlighted in a color is our responsibility.
And Rachel, the 1.72 this year and the 2.08 or whatever that number was 3 years ago, how does that, in your opinion, compare to other townships that you do service for?
I mean, I think for 37 miles, 79 miles, I think it's a great rating. Just because I've seen a lot of bad roads, especially I'm based in the Pittsburgh area. So, you know, not to knock on Pittsburgh, but our roads aren't the best. So I've seen some pretty bad ratings for that, you know, similar centerline mileage. So yeah, I think you guys have there's a lot of greens, and you don't have any 5 segments, which is amazing. So.
Oh, it's not by chance. It's been a real effort.
Yeah.
It's been a real, every year trying to get on top of this. And we're hoping to get pretty close to that. Not that we never do anymore, but just that it's can be done in a reasonable timeline. I mean, so it's not a bunch of roads that are blowing up all at the same time.
And if you see, Dave, we cut off the bottom of that Glenann Drive, so
Right.
we weren't taking hits from London, Britain.
Yeah, and I think the good news, particularly when you've seen the progress that we've made in the last 3 years, right? There's that 207. When you just look at the map, to Donna's point, like we're on our way to moving away from a repair mode to a maintenance mode, which is a much more comfortable place to be. Yeah, so you can see that there's, I mean, a big chunk of that township's yellow, big stretches are red, and you know, this is a nice improvement over the last few years. So for sure, and it's been a long time, a lot of work going into this. Much better situation.
Yeah, the hard work is definitely showing in this one. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Rachel, very much. The tool's great. It's incredibly helpful, particularly during this. We do a lot of planning every year around how to attack our road system, and this has been a very useful tool for us. Super useful. So thank you again. So before we let Rachel go, any other questions or comments from the board before?
I just think it's incredibly wonderful that you can do this, so it's very helpful to us.
All right.
Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, thanks, Jeff. I mean, working together, Jeff, really did all the work, all the hard work. So going out there and collecting. But yeah, if you have any questions, once you, get to play with the data yourself, feel free to reach out to me. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on. And hopefully I could, give you some insight on to use the platform. But yeah, I think we're good to go on my end, at least, if there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thanks again, Rachel.
Have a
Enjoy
good
the rest
evening.
of your night.
Bye.
All right. So with that, I will go back to what did we want to talk about next? I think it's the road program. And I've lost my agenda, so we'll do it this way. So right now we have our road management program, which Jeff will discuss.
All right, sir. This will be for the two bids that we let this year. This would be for the 2023-2024 snow plowing bid, as well as the 2024 interim road project bid. And just to remind everybody, the interim road project bid is not the main paving project. It's not our main road program. This is what I would call smaller jobs, generally maintenance things. So with Stacy's help this year, we did advertise this in the paper on 2 occasions, and we did post it to the website. So I can say that for the snow plowing bid package, we had 11 people who downloaded the bid package. And then for the interim road program, we had a total of 7. Our sole bidder this year for the snow plowing is Yardworks Incorporated. What I did was, for the board, I put in this year's bid sheet as well as last year's, so you could see it yourself. There's no change in pricing for the snow plowing from last season to this season. So with that, I guess we can take these one at a time, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman. If you want to discuss the snow plowing one first, and then see if you want to make a recommendation or not.
Let's start with snow plowing, and we'll just do them right in the order as it is in the agenda. And you want me to share my screen here and go through the I think I'm sharing am I sharing the right one here? Yeah, you should be seeing the agenda.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you want to go through this bid package here?
Well, again, this is the bid sheet for this year. These are now estimated hours. So if we go out for 2 hours the entire season, we get charged for 2 hours.
Okay.
But this is just an estimated range. I think Mr. Durazio does a very good job with the snow plowing, but you'll see the previous season versus this season. So if the board wishes, if you'd like to make a motion tonight, that's great. I can then get Mr. Durazio underway if it gets approved, for him to get his insurance and performance bond, and then we'll hopefully be ready at the first snowflake this year.
We've had good experience with Jim when it comes to snow plowing. Like I think, like you said, Jeff, he's done it a number of years and has done a very consistent, a good job in the sense that he's there when we need him.
Yes.
He gets it done. there's no issues about us waiting in line to be his next client. We are his client. I don't know what you want to do, Dave, but I would support awarding them the bid if that's how we decide to move today, or do we wait till next meeting to do a motion? I don't really care, but I don't think we need to reissue this. I think this is a good bid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why we'd need to wait on this. Any substantial changes year over year? I don't think so. I think the line item in the budget has stayed the same. Actually, it's been reduced by $100,000. Anything in here that stood out as different from year over year?
If you're asking me, sir, no. It will be a mirror image of last year's.
Last year's, yeah. So
we did. I know this is a little off track, but our salt pricing has increased, so that will be. Melissa can correct me, but I think it's almost $4 a ton more this year than last, and that's bid through the Pennsylvania State Co-Stars program, so that's bid statewide.
Okay.
So we were able to take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff.
How many tons of salt do we buy? Like, I mean, like for me, a ton is a lot, but I get a sense that we probably buy a lot of it. So how many tons? How many tons do we normally go through in a year?
Well, and Donna, it's not a good answer, but it depends on the winter and the storms we have and the amount of ice we have. Now, last year it was next to nothing, which is great. Working with the state, we had gone through. They were going to charge us for keeping the salt because we didn't have any place to put it. You know, you try and project it out through the year. I think I do a pretty good job with it. So I had grumbled with the state a little bit, and then some other townships did. And then just recently they waived that. So we don't have to pay that rental fee. So we have an estimated total for next year. And, you know, I'm hoping for a mild winter. Hopefully we get that.
So is it 100 tons? Is it 50 tons? I just want to get an idea how.
Donna, it really depends on the storms in the year. We could go through close to 800-900 tons a year versus 200 or 300.
Got it. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to get it. That's okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There's really no scientific reason or thing behind it, but and I'll keep saying this, I do greatly appreciate that salt shed the township built a few years ago. It makes my life and staff's life a lot easier. And
how many tons do we have in the salt shed?
Right now, Dave, I'd say we have right around 500, maybe a little more.
Okay.
But we're at that point where it just doesn't make sense to get any more in until we use what we have, because there's so much we didn't use last year.
So
if you take, an extreme year where we're using 800 tons and a non-extreme year where we're using 0 to 200 tons, we've got enough now. Provided that we don't have a disastrous winter. I guess my other question that comes to mind is salt readily available, right? We get a terrible winter and all of a sudden we need 800 tons. And so does everyone else. Do we want to make sure that we have a salt shed full of salt in case we do have a bad winter?
Well, what I found in the past, Dave, since we've had this nice salt shed, we're able to work it. So if we get out of our estimated range, sir, I've had salt companies tell me that we're not going to not sell you salt. You may go down the list a little bit if you get out of range, but you will get it. But with us having the building that we do, we're able to manage that.
And what does the building have to do with it?
The size of the building.
So they can just back their truck. They take their big truck, back it up
Right.
and dump it rather than use some special equipment.
That is correct. And the old salt shed that we had held about 120 to 130 tons. Now this, if it was a perfect square, Dave and Donna, it would probably be 700 tons, 600 to 700 tons, but it's got to be a perfect square, which we'll never get.
Right. But the point being is we can get a whole bunch at once, and it's a lot easier for them to deal with that than weekly deliveries of 100 tons of ice or 100 tons of salt.
Correct. Yeah, the truck drivers love us because they can come in with the tractor trailer dumps now.
Great.
I think you brought up an interesting point where you talked about the salt price going up, the $4 a ton, and because it's inflation. We're all dealing with inflation, and Jim really hasn't increased, at least in this bid, his prices at all. So I mean, I think that's interesting to know. I don't know how he does it, but obviously he's figured it out, and he's given us a decent price, a price that's similar to what he did before.
Yes, ma'am.
When you look at the historical levels, though, in 21, 74,000, 22, 37,000, year to date, 10,000. I would think that 60,000 plus 500 tons in reserve is hopefully, a nice little cushion that gives us maybe an extra 10,000, maybe $15,000 of cash to use for other things. And the $4 is relative. How much is a ton of salt? $100?
$76 and change.
Yeah, it's like 5%.
And you have to figure a tractor trailer. I'm sorry, Stefan. A larger dump truck can hold between 22 and 24 tons. But sometimes they do go to the dump tractor trailers, which is almost double, not quite.
Okay. So any objection to approving this bid at this meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Donna?
No, I'm good.
It's your motion.
Oh, it's my motion. Okay. I don't have a
Yeah.
motion sheet. That's my problem.
I have it if you want me to read it.
Yeah, do you mind? I didn't
No.
get it's my own fault. I probably didn't print it out, but I don't have a motion. So sorry. Thank you, Dave.
No
I'm
worries.
staring here like a la la land. No,
All right.
you don't mind.
So this is for the snow plowing for 2023 to 2024. I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors accept the 2023-2024 snow plowing bid proposal presented by J. Dominic DeRazio Incorporated, DBA Yardworks, with the hourly rates described within the bid package. Is there any further discussion?
How about I'll second it?
Oh,
I
I
can
need a second.
second.
That's right. Thank you. That's it. It's missing from the rest of the motion is missing here. So thank you, Donna, for a second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries 4-0.
Would you like to continue on, Dave?
Yeah, so then we go to the interim road bid package. And this is, I think, as Jeff described, is the maintenance, the day-to-day maintenance that you need to do on roads, right? So this is, you need to fix some potholes, or a small section of road blows up and you need to patch it. Those are the kinds of things where you're not necessarily, removing the whole top layer of asphalt and putting a whole new surface down or regrading something. It's the day-to-day kind of maintenance that you need to do on these roads. I guess I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Jeff, to that. I think I captured what this is.
Correct. And this is the same equipment than last year, with the exception of what I have highlighted there.
All-terrain
And that
mower.
is an all-terrain mower, which is it's a three-wheeled mower. It's kind of cool looking, but it does do great on slopes and trails. So that's something we wanted to add this year. And again, this bid package, the way it's set up, we can use it all or use half of it or use none of it.
It's
So
just
we only
based
get,
on usage.
yep. Yes, sir.
Okay. Was there any other competing bids, or was this just the one?
Just the one, sir. And this again was advertised in the newspaper and then on the website. And then there were seven different entities that downloaded this bid package.
Okay.
I mean, I have the same comments as before. We've used Jim before. He does a good job. I know there was some slight increases in cost, but they're minimal. I would support the motion for him. I mean, I would support awarding him the contract.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed those most of them line items were flat. Some were $5 at most. So yeah, I'm with you, Donna.
Okay. All right, so let me make the motion and then I can open up for discussion again. I make a motion that the Board of Supervisors accept this is written wrong. Accept the 2023-2024 interim road project bid proposal presented by J. Dominic Durazio, DBA Yardworks, with the hourly rates as described in the bid package. May I have a second? Thank you, Stefan. Any further discussion? All right, not hearing any, I will open it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, the motion passes 4-0. Congratulations, Yardworks, for another year with us. Appreciate it. Always good work. All right, so the next item on the agenda is our budget. Donna, Jim is not going to join us tonight. Do you want to kick us off on the budget discussion?
Sure. I'll start. I know Stefan has already sent some comments too, so maybe after I make mine, Stefan can lead into his. I did look at it, and I think there's some changes that Melissa's made that we should talk about, but I'm in agreement of. I mean, the whole idea for us is to get money moved over into a place where we can use it for MS4, because we know that's an expenditure that's coming our way, and we need to start putting money aside for it. So I think that's good, and we can go through. I mean, I don't know if you want to go through. Do you want to go through line by line? Is that how you want to do this, or?
So can you guys see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to go line by line yet. I just have a couple of questions or questions for the board, because one of the questions that, and you brought it up, was this the MS4 comment.
Right.
So what I did here just is I didn't make any changes to any of the line items. I just put a column in here for net change year over year.
Right.
So, for example, for our incomes, nothing really has changed.
Right.
And then with the expenses, I just for my own edification, I could look at it and say, okay, this went down, this went up.
Can I just make, before you move on, David, I just want to make a comment. We as a group need to address the wages. So I don't believe Melissa or Jeff felt comfortable putting in any kind of salary increases for themselves. I think that's our job. So I know you have numbers here, but I think we have to go back and look at the salaries for the staff.
Yep.
Because they were never really adjusted to, and we just need to talk about how much of an increase they should have, or a bonus. And that's my understanding, that is not in here. And that's going to be an additional expense. But I don't think Jeff and Melissa and Stacy should suffer because we have MS4. We have to figure out how we pay our staff a reasonable wage and address, any kind of bonuses based on the good work that they've done, and then manage the rest of it. So I just as we go through your numbers, I think we just have to come back and look at
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
And I mean, and again, this is an ongoing process. No final decisions are made tonight. So there's a couple of notes actually, since we were here on talking about process. So we're going to be talking about this budget through December. December is when we approve the budget officially. And so we'll have 2 more meetings where we can work on it, right?
No, I don't think so. I think we have to get to a point where, and I'm thinking it's at the next meeting, we got to come up with something because we have to advertise it.
So it has to be advertised and then we approve it at the December meeting.
Right.
So we've got this meeting and then in 2 weeks, next week, we have another meeting to discuss it about where we want it to be. And then it gets published, advertised. Then we vote on it at the December meeting.
Right.
This
Melissa?
Go ahead.
Now, Melissa, I don't want to, I just want my memories. Melissa, do I have it right?
If it comes down to a worst case scenario where there's issues or contention and we need that December meeting to discuss, can we meet on December and then advertise it and then have a special meeting at the very end of December if we needed it?
Well, we had the workshop meeting in December. Right. So if we're still arguing back and forth in November, I think once we've advertised it, we can't do any major changes. Right. Once we advertise the proposed budget, I don't think any major changes can be made before that meeting. But I'm sure, I think there's we can make some modifications at that final public meeting, but that final public meeting, we need to make a decision and vote on it. But we might want to talk about Guy if we get too far down that path where we just simply cannot agree on a budget. The caveat, and one thing that we'll need to remind the board of, is because this is an election year and we will have new board members, we'll have at least one new board member. The budget will be reopened in January to allow whoever that new board member is an opportunity to cast their vote on that budget. So we might, I think last year we did that when Jim came on, and we opened it up and then we immediately closed it again because there wasn't going to be any changes. So it's a formality, but if it gives the new candidate, the new board member or members, an opportunity to speak their mind on the subject. So there'll be other opportunities if things go sideways. I don't anticipate that. I mean, this board has successfully passed budgets for the last, 4 years that I've been on it. So I wouldn't, unless there's something I'm not seeing. Here's the one point. Yeah. I'm sorry, Donna.
No, I was going to say the thing. It's not that I don't think we'll argue about it. I think the challenge is where do we take money to put into MS4 and
so here's my issue with the MS4, and this is where we need to have the conversation. So this amount, this $550,000, is if we decide this year that we're going to do all of these stormwater projects, right? We just had a conversation with our senator who's going to be working to help us find money. Like, do we actually spend $500,000? And we're the only township doing this right now, right? Every other township is waiting and seeing. So do we want to be on the spearhead of spending $500,000 this year? Or do we wait and see and continue talking to our advisors, right? Like, so I'm uncomfortable saying, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to really lead here, and we're going to lead by spending the most amount of money that we can.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. So I see it as, maybe we will be arguing. So I see it as we have our expert telling us that it looks like it's somewhere from based on his fees and maintenance fees and all that stuff, it's going to be like, could be up to $3 million
Right.
over 5 years,
Mhm.
which it's like $600,000 a year. He doesn't know what it's going to be. So I look at this as putting money in the bank. So so Dave, maybe I don't want to spend $550,000 next year, but I want to put it aside somewhere so that when year 3 we're spending $1 million, that I have money somewhere that I can pull from.
So your suggestion isn't to spend this stormwater management money. Your suggestion is to create another account where it's the stormwater management fund.
Yeah, that works for me. Whatever you call it, I just want the money because I think the spend is going to go little big. Like it's gonna, I think we'll spend something next year. Don't get me wrong. I think we're going to have to start doing some engineering in order to look for those grants. But I don't think we're going to spend $550,000 next year. No.
What Andrew said in our meeting, I asked the question, could you give us a curve? Could you give us how it will look like? We're not spending $500,000 next year. So in my email, I said, what's realistic, and I think it's hopefully slightly conservative, is we might spend 150 next year. And in my email, I also suggested what Dave and you guys were talking about is set a separate account. Don't put all this MS4 stuff with other stormwater projects. Have a completely separate line. Create a reserve fund. So if next year we spend $180,000, not a separate checking account, just a separate, like we have with the reserve fund, a separate account, and that money will pile up. The one thing too is we don't know. Hopefully Donna is overly conservative with the dollar amount.
Right.
$3 million is a lot of money. I don't want to lead with this, and we may get grant money, but yeah, I would think, and it could be $3 million over 5 or 6 years, but it could also be $3 million spread over 8 years. Depending on how the projects are timed and when we get approval and all this other stuff.
Or it could be $4 million over 5. The only way prices are only going to go up. Like, you know what I mean? And this thing never goes away. So are we all violently agreeing we need to have some kind of a fund and start putting money aside for us?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
Yes. So yes. So and I think where I'm confused, and I'm reading through Stefan's email now, looking at, there needs to be a sub item, a sub line item, like our reserve fund item, where we have a storm water management, right? And so I guess my point here, well, it's already been done, is I guess my second point with Donna would be this: we create the stormwater management fund, but my concern here is we are net negative $62,000 if we put the total fund, like what you're suggesting right here, which is that estimated 3 million divided by 5 years, right?
Well, it's actually short, so it should be $600,000.
Yeah. So my point here is, well, do you have what are your thoughts on getting the $62,000? Where is that coming from?
I have a couple ideas.
Okay.
The other thing I don't know, and I think we need Melissa, the treasurer, to help us out with. I think we want to put the money in a place, I don't know what you call it, so that if we don't need to spend 550, or we don't need to spend $3 million, that we can actually get the money back out for something else. So I don't know how you do that. I just remember when Joan was around, she had talked about if you allocate it to a certain fund, sometimes it's stuck there, unless like it's easy to go to the general fund, to take the general fund and put it into something else that's specialized, but sometimes it can be difficult to get it out of a specialized fund into the general fund. And I don't know the rules. I'd like to get someone who knows the rules to help us out. So wherever we put the money, I just want it to be put in a place that we can, if things, really good things happen and we get a lot of grant money, or somebody has some some sense, and this thing is not as much of a burden as it currently seems to be, that we can free that money up. I don't know where that, what that is.
Can we put it in the general fund? Technically in the general fund, but a subcategory of the general fund is this MS4 account.
Well,
It's
this
not-
is
it's not, so
Stefan,
it would not be a-
106 is only MS4. That's all 106 is. This is just stormwater management. Maybe we need to word it differently, but it's just MS4. You see, it's prepare for MS4 year
so
one.
This is the general fund, right?
Yeah. But the line is, I just think it's better if Melissa talks to this. Melissa, can you? Yeah, I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't really hear you. Your voice is very low. So the question.
Better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk to this?
Okay.
I'm not doing a very good job.
Yeah. So the line item there is for MS4 for the first year, stormwater maintenance, and $60,000 a year in MS4 reporting. But on top of that, you have your normal stormwater management program within the township. And with DEDC, there's no other line item you can split that off in. And if you would look in like the budget for draft 2, I broke out the engineering cost, because you can break out engineering and put that somewhere else. So there's a way to break all this down.
So what we're specifically asking is we want to create, in quotes, like a savings account. It's a reserve fund. We're not pulling money out of it yet, but we want the money there. So when we do decide upon a MS4 project, we have that reserve fund ready to go. Kind of like the, I guess it would be kind of like the, what was that? The emergency fund that we had the $250,000 in, the capital reserve fund, right?
Open space reserve fund.
Or the
Unfortunately,
open
right
space
now,
reserve, or the open space reserve fund, for example. Like
so
we want to
unfortunately,
create something like that for MS4, right? So because to
so
Donna's,
unfortunately, so unfortunately, right now with the DEDC, there's nothing for the stormwater account. It all has to come under 446-100.
oh, so you're given a list of specific items that you can use. You can't create your own.
No.
Okay, so can we then transfer this money to the capital reserve fund?
Yes. Once you guys vote on it and say, yes, I can transfer that over there.
So if we keep this money, so here's my question, like the stormwater management, that's an expense, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not planning on spending $500,000 next year on MS4.
No.
We just aren't. So why wouldn't we just say what we're going to spend there? And then, because we have to create a separate line item, because it looks like we're spending $500,000. I mean, it looks like we're spending $550,000 on MS4 projects when we're not going to spend $550,000 on MS4 projects. We're earmarking funds for future use. Where would that money go? Does that go into the capital reserve fund, or where would that go if we're not going to spend it?
Yes, I could earmark that to the capital reserve fund. However, just note that $100,000 of that will be for regular, like, stormwater work within the township.
That's the 165,000. So
yeah,
that's something different. That's a different amount. we're planning to spend the 165,000.
Right,
Yeah.
within the township.
Right. So
Yeah.
we're just talking about the 550, the stuff
The
that's
160, I'm totally confused. There's two line items here.
right,
105
right.
is $165,000. Below it is stormwater
Correct.
management, and it's $550,000.
Right.
That's all. That is all the MS4.
Right.
So my point here is this $550,000, line 106, that $550,000, how much of that is actually going to get spent this year?
Could be up to 150, right? I mean, you're gonna spend money for you're gonna spend money for Andrew. That should come from here if he does our stormwater MS4 stuff. It should come out of this budget. And whatever engineering we do, if we do any, I don't know. I'm guessing 100,000, 150,000. I don't know. Probably not that much.
So I think the note here though is here's where I think the discussion should be. One, this line item, line 106, stormwater management, should reflect how much money we are actually going to spend in 2023, 2024, right? And then the conversation is, well, how much money then do we put into a capital reserve fund? Do we really have $500,000 in the capital reserve fund?
Well, we did. We don't do it. We're not doing it next year. So that's our road program. So the capital reserve fund is our road program. That's part of our road program. And I think some of it also had money put aside to do some work on the building. So that's
Okay.
the 500. And
Gotcha.
you see how it's been reduced. That's
250.
yeah.
$250,000. And then what we're doing is we're budgeting. So with our liquid fuels, we still have a budget of almost $500,000 for the road program in here.
I don't think it's that much.
470,000.
So I have 204,000 from the liquid fuels.
All right.
And and I just want to be clear, the 250,000 that's put here, it's not just the road program. You see on the notes, it's 200K for the road program, 50K for the build. The building has some issues that Jeff and Melissa want to bring to our attention in terms of rotting wood, just some. I mean, windows. So there's just some stuff. Yeah.
My point, Donna, right, is that we've got let's just say $400,000 for our road program.
Correct.
Which is maybe $50,000 to $95,000 less than what we usually spend every year.
Right.
Right. And we usually are, for the past few years, we spend all of that money fixing like 3 to 4 roads. Right. So this year we have much less need for a road program. So my point is, do we really need to maintain the same level of funding for our road program this year than we do next year?
It all depends what our projects are, because I know we have 165,000 for stormwater projects. We need to hear from Jeff and Ron. What work do we need to do? So when we look at the road program big picture, which includes actually paving roads, but doing some stormwater management as part of the support for the roads, I don't know what that is. I don't know how much that's going to cost. So it may be a different year it's not all going to be paving. It may be other stuff that has to get done.
Oh, I understand. But isn't that this line item right here, 165?
I don't know if that number is realistic. I don't know. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I know these projects are very expensive. I just don't know how much that is.
So Dave, you're looking at the 165. That's like for the roads, for storm damage, maintenance, and repairs. So if someone hits a guardrail or someone, that's a different line.
Oh, it's more maintenance. I get you. It's maintenance.
That's totally different from stormwater.
Yeah, but we've never spent $165,000 this year. Year to date have spent $70,000. The year before was $40,000.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe Dave's point not to
21.
interject here, but
Okay.
it might be a little bit, it seems a little bit high, considering our history. So I'm wondering if that number should be 125, and that gives us 40,000.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
we
kind of
can
where
always,
where,
we can always reduce that, but back in 2021, we spent 163, 348. So you can never predict the winter, and so that's why that's so high.
So, but that takes us back to the road, but the comment we make, so we would have $400,000 for the road program, which would include any stormwater management repairs needed to support the roads, plus paving, just to close that discussion up.
Wait, Donna, can you repeat that? Because the way I understood, is you said 400,000, 200 is for the road program from the capital reserve, and then 200 is from liquid fuels.
Correct.
But you also mentioned stormwater damage, which is another line item, which is line item 105.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not being very clear, and I apologize. So when there's certain road projects, right, that in order to, before you even pave, you have to address some water, how the water flows and issues. Jeff, you're better at this than I am, but there's some things that need to be done before you can pave. And I call that stormwater management, but that may not be the best discussion. I mean, if water gets involved, you can screw up your road. So go ahead, Jeff, please take it on.
Stefan, we have 2 stormwater infiltration pits within the township for the older developments. One being Thompson Estates, and then the other one being Southview Estates. We have to take the engineering approach and do some testing. My best understanding of how they're working is they failed. Ron seems to think that as well, but we need to do some testing, which would be basically taking out a humongous stone pit under the ground and replacing it where all the stormwater goes, and then it infiltrates into the ground. So that's something I've been a big proponent on for years. We may need to prioritize that over paving, but that's something that Ron and I are aware of, but we need to go out. We need to do the testing. I'm going to have a bunch of files for Stacy to pull, as well as myself.
So
And
here's the
Jeff,
thing.
will that money come out of line 105, or will that come out of the road program?
Comes out of the road program.
This-
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mean 105, not 106.
I know what you mean. It's not
Yeah,
considered.
something happened here. This said other insurance. Didn't that used to say stormwater?
Yeah. Someone's got to backspace it or whatever
There we go.
in Excel.
All right, so here's my question then, because we're trying to come up with a budget here, and we're saying, okay, well, with the stormwater here. I guess here's my thought. Let me just summarize my thought.
Okay.
We've been talking about our road program having been very successful. We just saw that, look, so there's not very many roads here that really need to be done.
Paved.
And paved is what I mean. And so the likely outcome this year is that we're going to have a reduced road program for 2024 because we've achieved our objective, right? We've fixed most of these roads. Like 90% of the roads are in great shape and 10% of the roads are in okay shape. So we're probably not going to find, or you have to do 5 new roads this year, right? Truncated. So, but we're funding our road program essentially at the same levels as we've historically done, right? Instead of saying, all right, well, what we're going to do is spend $300,000 this year instead of $500,000 this year, or $400,000 this year. We're just going to spend another $400,000 this year. So that's kind of where my thoughts are as well. if we do that, and that $400,000 includes the stormwater, right? It's not like $400,000 plus. It's all of this is the same budget. So if we're going to reduce the road program, we're going to do less roads. The stormwater cost should go down as well.
No, because it could be stormwater projects that's yeah. So
Stormwater related
we're
to
not
road
going to be
work.
paving as much, but there's some big projects that Jeff talks about that need to be addressed, and we haven't addressed them. So
I still haven't heard what that's going to cost.
we don't.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's my
Yeah.
problem. Is we're going into a budget. We know these program projects exist, and we don't know how much they cost. Like,
Well, it looks like they're estimating 165,000 for stormwater. So forgetting stormwater, if we're talking about 400,000 for road program, and we spent 500 or so, I don't know if that's the right number, in the past. So if in my email I said if we go down to 250 in road program in 2024, and then all that, usually when we don't spend as much money, then goes to the reserve fund and there's a negative balance on the original budget of 88,000. So we get rid of that negative balance. We then would have a surplus of 163 by spending 250,000 instead of spending 400. So
Right.
I kind of understand what Dave's saying. It's like, again, has nothing to do with 165,000, but and I think we're conflating all three issues here, and
you're right.
especially with the other insurance line thrown in there. But anyway, forget that 165.
Yeah, take it
go
out.
From 400 to go from 400 to 250. That's that's 150,000. There's a shortfall of 500 to 250. There's a shortfall in the reserve fund of 80-some thousand. So by cutting back, we should have an extra 163,000.
So this, what you're saying is, instead of putting this $250,000 into the capital reserve fund, we put $50,000.
The capital reserve fund for MS4?
No, the capital reserve fund is what we pull to pay for the road program.
Yeah, see that number, right? The thing that's highlighted right now under budget 24, it's 250. You're saying
So right now, yeah. Right now, you're saying, so there's liquid fuels, which is 200. I'm just going to round out. I'm going to round my
Oh,
number.
yeah, I see what you mean. Yes.
So
yes.
the liquid fuels is $200,000. That is all road work, and I think stormwater stuff for related to road work. And what you're saying is, if we spend a total of $250,000 on our road program, this number drops from 200,000 to 50,000. So we're spending total $250,000 this year on the road program instead of $400,000 on the road program this year.
Yes, assuming that we can find $200,000 worth of liquid fuels projects that we can use that. So
yeah, we will. That's.
I think we're gonna have more projects, but just be clear, 50,000 of this is for the building, because you have a building that's falling apart. So Dave's math is right though. Yes. Yeah. Right.
So $100,000. So we go from, so I raise it up to $100,000 in the capital reserve fund, and that leaves us a surplus of $88,000.
Well, we still haven't done some salaries, and there's some other stuff we need to do. But we can put this in there. We need to get Jeff and Ron to come up with some money, because some estimates, because I don't know how much these projects cost and how critical they are.
Yeah, if they're critical, right. Well, that's the big problem that we're working on, is like, we've got these projects hanging up and no one can give us an estimate. So until we get the estimate. So it's conceptual.
It's basically conceptual. It goes back to the idea that when we talk with Rachel and also stuff, that we have spent a lot of money on our roads, that now it's time to cut back a little bit more to maintenance mode. And with maintenance mode, we don't know what it is, but hopefully it's, whatever that number is, it's 52.5% off of what we spent the last couple of years. So maybe 250 is the right number. Maybe it's 275, but it's just an idea to start a conversation.
Right. But
and here's the other thing. I guess the question is, and we're all agreeing $550,000, we're just going to put that in the bank and sit on it. That's what we're doing.
Well, we know we're gonna spend some of it. We're gonna have to spend some of it. So
Well,
let's
yeah, we
I
spend some of it to
disagree.
pay for the engineering.
but I just want to be so Jeff, you've made the point to me that these projects are really important. These pits, these stormwater infiltration pits. I get the sense that they need to get fixed. So I don't look at that as a road. I look at it as the cost coming from a road program. But these things, we need to fix them, and I have no idea how much they're going to cost. So I'm fine to do what you're saying, make it 250 as a just as a discussion point. But we need to find out how much these how critical they are and how much they cost, because it could take up the whole 250 could be these stormwater projects, and then no roads get fixed, and that's okay as long as we all understand that. I just know that it can be expensive.
But also, you know, while we have replaced one or two of these over the years, it's been a while since we've done so. So I can't sit here and give you a price and say it's going to be good or it's going to be bad. But it's something we
need a ballpark, right? We can't agree to do something without knowing how much it's going to cost. So so a couple of comments. One, I think we got to go further down the line to get an estimate on what this is. And then two, really establish the necessity of it, right? Yeah. So this hasn't been a priority. Those two projects haven't been a priority for the board this year. Why is it a priority? So we've got to come up with a reason, and then, well, one, come up with a cost. How much is it going to cost? If it's not a lot of money, then okay, maybe why we should just get it done. But then I think the second thing is, why is it a priority? Is it an imminent structural failure that's causing issues, or is it a nice to have? So don't answer that now. Like, don't try to answer it now. Let's start
let's
get an engineering proposal or some number on paper so the board can make a decision on how much money we need to put aside for this thing.
Just another comment. We spent a lot of money this year on, I don't know what it's not stormwater maintenance, but these stormwater projects, right? Because we used a lot of the COVID money for that. So that's David, everything you're saying is correct. That's why I have the sense that it's expensive, but that's not based on any facts, just based on the sense that we were able to blow through $300,000 or a little bit less than that on these projects.
So this is the ARPA funding is what you're talking about,
right? And
so this is what we've spent over the last.
So you have it here.
So first dollop was $246,000, and that all went to stormwater.
Yeah.
And then the next dollop was $230,000, and that all went to stormwater. Can we get MS4 credits for all this stormwater?
I was just going to ask that. Do the two retention basins, do we get credit for those?
Not according to Arrow.
Boo.
Really?
I know, we did a lot of work on that. Spent a lot of money. All right, so let's kind of come to an agreement here, because we've been like nitpicking this thing. I think we're all in general agreement. Like, we're all saying the same thing. We're just coming at it from a different perspective. And so the one thing that we need to do is really look at what these capital projects look like. And I think, again, when we talk about the budget, we also have to talk about salaries. Are we doing that tonight, or do we do that? When do we have that discussion on salaries? I don't know if we do that with our staff in the same room. I'm not sure how that works in the past.
I think
we did not.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, Stefan. Thank you. So why don't we do that? Maybe we should have just a separate session to talk about that. And then we can come back and talk about this, how much wiggle room we have in this $88,000 that's left. And there might be some other things that we can pull from.
So Melissa already did quite a bit of pulling. I think you guys picked up on that. We're no longer into the cap. Yeah. We're no longer putting money into the reserve fund. We took some money out of park. We took I think about $12K. we took some money out. I'm not gonna quote how much we took out of the park and rec fund.
Yep.
So yeah, I think she did her best to cut where none of this is easy, but easier because it was money that we were saving as opposed to stuff that we were spending.
The other number that I think we could work on is this mowing number.
Well,
Yeah.
you should look at what's covered in that because it's a lot. But I don't know if you have the sheet, but
Yeah, I
Jeff
have it
shared
right
with
here.
me. Yeah, it was quite a few things are there. I think we
I
can
guess-
talk about, but it was quite a few things that were being cut for trails that people are using and sight distance and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you want to spend some time to do that now? Talk about
We
this?
can. I guess the question is like when we talk about roadside mowing and super elevated cuts and sight distance, this is all road work. It's all stuff on the sides of the road. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Why did it go up though? I don't understand why. And please help me out, because I think maybe someone tried to explain it to me in the past. What's different between 22, 23 and 70,000 for 24, and why can't we just go back to? Is there some requirement that we have to spend, what is it, 75% more than we did in the past?
Melissa can correct me where I'm wrong, but I believe that money for what we call the super elevated cut, that would be the cut above anything that is drooping down, that is 6 inches or more in diameter. That's just a number that we put to it. The other one is the sight distance, where we go out where PennDOT doesn't do work at like 841 and 896. It's weed eater work that's above the roadside mowing. It's just to
So
help
this is
protect our.
Is this stuff that we never did before, and now we're budging it? We're gonna do it? Because
No, that's not true.
then
Go ahead, Melissa.
why? Okay.
So we've always had it in the budget. I just like when I see the invoices coming in, I want to be able to classify that to what it is. Super elevated cut, sight distance, to better give the board a broader perspective of what we're spending. So
So
I
you
grouped it all
consolidate
in
it.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
I
grouped
see.
it all in there, and I have classifications in QuickBooks, and I deducted it out of like the roadside mowing and stuff like that because I really feel like these charges were hidden from the supervisor. So
Gotcha. So we didn't increase our spending here. We just corrected our book.
no, right,
Gotcha.
exactly,
That's
and
all right.
that's why that's highlighted in red, or
Whatever. Orange. What is that color?
yeah, salmon.
Salmon. All right.
So it's just better for classification. So when you guys say to me, like, what did we
Okay.
spend? I can pull it up in QuickBooks.
So it looks like we're spending a lot more. We're spending the same. She just dumped it. It was just previously was dumped in other places. Okay.
Yeah,
That makes
so
me
it's
feel a little bit better.
reclassified.
Now,
And
but now
that's
the question is,
that's why it's highlighted like that.
perfect. I understand. So we just need to maybe now that we understood it, it stands out. Is this a competitive number? Are we doing? So I don't want to. Obviously, I don't want to impair public safety, right? That's not the goal here. But is this the right work? So one of the things that you were saying is, and Jeff, maybe I misheard you, is like we're doing mowing for PennDOT because they don't do it. Is that correct? You're on mute.
There is some of that, yes.
So we should not do that.
Well,
We should not. We should probably be pushing PennDOT.
Yeah, but
Well-
Dave, what can you do if people can't see? If you get caught,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But there's also they need to be doing their own road work, right? They're not doing that. We don't pave their roads for them. but we'll be cutting their median strips for them.
So people can see. I mean, you get caught, right?
No, I
So the
get
more
it. I
The more
understand.
you do it, the less they do, right? But if you don't do it, people get in an accident.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
We're just stuck in that cycle, right? We're doing it for them. All right. But I feel a
Can I
little
go
bit better
back to-
knowing that this is an accounting correction rather than all of a sudden we're spending more than we need to.
Yes.
Can I go back to a question that I don't know if we ever resolved, and that's the elephant in the room, and that's line 106. If we budget 150,000, which is probably more than we're going to be spending in 2024, then and then we have extra money. Does the money then go to, where does the money go to? The general fund? That's question one for Melissa. Question two, if we do budget 550 and we only spend 140,000, that extra money, the 400 or so thousand, then goes into a capital reserve fund. I'm trying to understand, either way, we're going to spend what we're going to spend.
Right, it
just
needs to
an
go
accounting
somewhere.
for it.
We need
I
to
know.
put it somewhere.
My
gonna
question's for Melissa. My question's for Melissa. If the money's going to go somewhere, does it matter where it goes, where we will have better access in the future? If we budget 550 and it then goes to the general fund, or if we budget 150 and at the end we have extra money and we put it into this new capital reserve fund, does it matter where the money goes so we have easier access?
No, it does not.
I'm okay. So if it does not matter if it's a general fund or the capital reserve fund, I'd rather, going back to the very first point we have discussed, I'd rather have a number that's closer to the actual for this year of 150, and then as this number becomes 600 or 700,000, whatever it is, in 4 years, we take it from that account. I'd rather have this be closer to reality than some.
Yeah.
That's
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So we talked.
and
Yeah. Go ahead.
I agree with you, Stefan, and that's why DCED is coming up with a cost code for us to better organize that. So right now it just has to be stuffed into the 446-100 category.
Okay.
But
So they're
in
going
the
to come up
future-
with. So Melissa, just say,
Yeah.
so what they're going to come up with is like a reserve fund for stormwater management.
or just a fund to stuff. Yeah, basically.
So the reason I think we need something that is specifically says this is a, I don't know what the right word is. I'll just say this is a savings account where we are putting money every year into that is specifically for stormwater management, right?
Yeah.
And because eventually what will happen, and who knows what will happen, but in 10 years or time, there might be a lot of money in that account. Millions of dollars.
Exactly.
There'll be millions of dollars.
So then,
but I don't want
so
someone
then
to
the
come
oth-
in. Go ahead.
So then the other thing that needs to come out of that 446-100 account is the engineering fees for stormwater, and that'll have another item. And then the permit fees.
Right.
So right now, that's all lumped into the 446-100
Right.
because there is no code.
So this is where I'm like, this is where it gets a little hairy, is we're not spending $550,000, right? So that's my problem. So
No.
we're just going to be, let's just say
No.
$400,000 just kind
Right.
of not spent. So how does that money get accounted for? Where does it go? General fund?
It'll just be reabsorbed by the general fund. But keep in mind that you still have stormwater projects within the township. So
Yeah, but that's
So that's
the
where
road program. We just talked about that. That's
Yeah.
not MS4. That's
Right.
the road program.
So
exactly.
stormwater management also include general stormwater work that we use as part of the road program?
no,
Okay,
No.
so then that answers that question. So I understand, then I'm clear. So I understand that we have other stormwater projects, but this $500,000
Correct.
isn't that. That's specifically for MS4 requirements.
Right. Right.
correct.
Right. But once again, David, I know you're saying you can't do it, but there must be a way, because that we can create something that we can take the 400,000 and put it somewhere. I call it something.
Well, I guess maybe the answer is yes, but like when we created that open
The open space
fund,
fund or whatever we called it.
was there already a code for 490?
Not the open space fund. What do we call it? We call it reserve fund. We just called it, unless we just
yeah,
put it
sure,
on the reserve fund. It's a reserve.
No, there wasn't in the beginning.
Hmm.
But we made that mistake in the beginning, and that's why you'll see back in 2022, I had to transfer the 20,000 to the reserve fund for 2023. So I had to consult with DCED
Yeah.
to get that done.
So I guess the answer, Melissa, is you're on it. You're going to try and figure it out, right? You're already working.
Oh yeah.
Get the code, because I think what we're all trying to avoid is like forgetting what that $500,000 is for. We probably won't, but all of a sudden we'll be confused when next year the general fund starts with $500,000 more.
Right. No, I hear you. And then you don't have anything going to an MS4 fund, and you're spending $3 million and there's $500,000 in the MS4 fund. It has to go. I totally agree with everything everyone's saying, that we should put in here what we're going to spend, whatever that amount is, and then we should find a place to put the stuff that we're not spending, so we have it for when we have to spend it.
And where can we put that? Does that go in? Can we put it in the reserve fund where we have 260,000, 285,000, and then knowing that 285,000 is there for an emergency, and the other 400 that we build, and maybe next year in 2025 it's only 200, and I just want to make sure that we have it in an account that we can then use. And if at the end of the day, in 6 years from now, because we get grants or whatever, we have put in $3 million, but we only spent $2.4 million, that we have access to that $600,000 to use however we want.
Right.
So
we know what we want.
So with training,
I'm sorry.
So with the current training that I've done, with our ARPA funds getting ready to be depleted, we're going to be able to open up a stormwater account totally separate for Franklin Township. And then that money will go there. So it'll just replace the ARPA funds.
So Melissa, I'm confused. You're limited by the number of funds you can have, so you have to wait till the ARPA goes away before you can create another one?
Well, we're waiting for DCED to say we can do that.
Why can't we put it just in the general fund or the regular reserve fund, either the general fund or the reserve fund, and we would have some line item for ourselves, not for reporting purposes, where we would know what that amount is built up. That's question one. And question two, if we have a separate fund that replaces the ARPA fund, which would be the Stormwater Reserve Fund, MS4 account, again, only the 550, would we have access to that if we overfund it for other things?
So the problem is the chart of accounts with DCED. There's no line item right now for these mandates from DEP. And secondarily, they're recommending, like, if you deplete your stormwater or whatever you got from ARPA, to replace that for your stormwater for accountability. I don't know.
Oh my
God. You know what I mean? Like if we, I'm not talking about reporting. If we had an extra $500,000 this year, I'm sorry, 400,000 next year, and we had an extra 200,000 the next 2025, as things start to ramp up. We now have 600. If we now have $600,000, we could not put that in our reserve fund or the capital. I'm sorry, not the capital. We could not put it in the reserve fund or the general fund. Not delineated any way for reporting purposes, but we have $600,000 that we all know is earmarked, not reporting, earmarked for stormwater.
So I guess the example would be this, right? So if we were going to do it, let me go to the line item, is you have the stormwater management, right? this line item. So what we report to our accounting bodies is stormwater management and whatever we spend, right? Then, but what I think what Stefan is saying, but for us, this document for the board would have a sub, a 446.31A, right? And that's stormwater management savings, right? And that's just for Franklin Township, where we remember, oh, okay, so I guess it would be better in the general fund. In the general fund, we've got $500,000 and earmarked for stormwater management, and I forget what what the line item for the general fund is. And that subsection A is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll delineate the dollar amounts. Are you allowed to do that?
Yes, you are.
So
And
that
the
might be a
good
way
thing
to like to make it look good for us, make us understand it.
The reason I'm bringing it out there is because, again, if I hope this happens, but if for some reason we overfund, and we get grants or whatever, or we just overestimate, and we have this fund, like the ARPA fund, that has so much money in there after 7 years, whatever it is, and there's an extra $500,000 hypothetically. I just want to make sure that we have the ability to have easy access to that money for general stuff. And I don't know. I haven't heard the answer to that.
Well, and I think it's also for transparency, right? So like if you're looking, if you aren't sitting through this conversation as a resident, and you're not going to go on YouTube and listen to it, you're going to go look at this next year, for example, you're going to look at this balance sheet and say, why isn't the township spending this $500,000 that's been sitting in the general fund for 2 years, right? They're telling us we're broke. Why do we have $500,000 in the general fund, right? So we need a place to say, no, that money is actually reserved for MS4 requirements, and we need it when it hits because we need to pay all this money, right? So that's my other concern is, one, it's us, internal bookkeeping, and remember where we put what. And the other is just transparency, so someone who's not in these meetings can read it and understand what we're doing.
And thirdly, interest. We can get good interest from.
Oh yeah, even that exactly.
Do we know how much the PennDOT project's going to cost us? When I think, because that is going to be an expense.
What was that? Was it $50,000, something like that?
Yeah, so that's going to have to come out of that budget. I just don't want to. We talked about the what we have to pay Andrew, any kind of permit work that he needs to do to maintain to put it in there and to get it approved. But I wouldn't want to lose sight that there is that money for PennDOT, and if we get involved in anybody else. So I think just keep that in mind, that we actually could spend not 500,000, but we could spend 150. We could spend some money.
Donna, may I ask a question? When you talk about PennDOT, you mean MS4. You're not meaning a road program. Correct?
Oh yeah, I'm not doing a very good job tonight. Yes, I think.
No, I just want to make sure.
The PennDOT co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm thinking in terms of the one part of the MS4 project that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna do some more PennDOT work for them, in addition to the cutting grass.
Yeah. All right.
So can I ask another question, Melissa? And I'm sure you have a good answer. And on the part of the budget, the capital fund page of the budget, I think the way I'm reading it, there's $200,000 coming in from the general fund just to start the year off, and then it talked about the $250,000 transferring from the general fund. I know we reduced that now, but I'm just used the numbers that were in the budget earlier. And then that comes. Can you get to that, Dave? It's towards the back. It's the
what line item is it?
It's a capital fund. So you're out of general fund. You're into the capital fund.
This guy right here?
Yeah. You see how you have $200,000. It looks like it's coming from the beginning cash balance. So I'm assuming that's in there left over from 2023. I'm guessing. And then the 250 that we talked about putting in there, I know we're reducing it, but just for right now, just to play with the numbers. And then $1,000 interest. Is that, and it just so you have $451,000. Is there an extra $200,000 coming in from the 2023 capital budget? Is that where that 200,000 is coming from?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. And so that's good, right? This sounds like there's an extra $200,000 coming in. I guess my question to you then, does that mean we have $451,000 to spend, or do you want to continue to have another, or did you do this on purpose so that we have another $200,000 for the following year? Is that your goal, to every year be able to pull in $200,000 into the fund?
Yeah, so back when I took that money, we had $250 for the road program and $250 for the building rehab.
Okay.
Obviously now the building rehab's not going to happen. And then with the mishap with the road program, with the advertisement, that's why that's reduced to 200,000. So yeah, we have an extra $200,000 there. But I think we should just keep that in our reserves, or just leave it in the capital just in case.
So I don't know if this is correct, but I remember Joan telling me that if you wanted to spend the 451,000, if you want to have the ability to spend it all, you need to say it's a project. You need to, like, you can't keep it as an extra thing and make it that you don't have to call it anything, but just say, instead of capital projects 250,000, you should say the capital projects are 450,000. You may not spend it, but you have to at least allocate it as a project, or you'll never be able to spend it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, sure it does.
Now you're gonna have to change this anyways, because we talked about we're reducing this to $100,000. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's actually good. I think that's good news.
Yeah.
Okay.
One other quick question is the cash balance. Like on the cover sheet of the budget, it says our cash balance at the end of 2024 should be 454,000. So when we do our proposed expenditures for 2024, it's 3.33 million. When we include our income, that's 3.78 million, but that also includes our cash. Do you know what our cash balance based on our 2023 estimate, because I couldn't find it, 2023 year-end estimate would be, because I want to compare that to what our cash balance would be at the end of 2024.
I do not have that right here with me. It's on my computer at work.
Yeah, no, because it's not just proposed income. It's not just income versus expenses. It's income plus cash minus expenses. So if we have $1 million in cash, and we're going down to 454,000, we're using 550,000 in cash. But if we have 450,000 in cash and we're going down to 450,000, it's not as bad.
That's a good point.
Yeah, very good.
So you could look into that, Melissa. Let us know, or if we're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, hopefully we're not. I mean, we're actually saving quite a bit because we're putting money in for MS4. We're putting, instead of spending on the road program and for snow. I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but our snow amount of money allocated to snow has gone down. So we've taken that money, and that's really what's going into MS4. And it's more of a savings as opposed to spending it.
What are we going to spend this $5 of ARPA money?
Postage.
I guess I dialed in just in time.
You did. We've been chewing on this for about 45 minutes now.
Yeah, sorry, I just got back.
Well, no worries. How was dinner?
It was actually pretty good. It was at Heartfelt. It was pretty good.
Good.
Shut up, Jim.
All right. So, I don't know what else is there. There's still plenty to go over, but I think where we're leaving it now is, am I on the right page here? I think so. Where we're just what we were discussing, Jim, is just we started the day off negative $60,000. What we did was we started the discussion, the start of the meeting with a road program discussion with robotics, and the road system looks like it's in pretty good shape. And the initial pass was we were going to reduce the capital reserve fund, which is what we use to pay for the road program, reduce that from $250,000 to $100,000, which leaves us roughly $250,000 for the 2024 road program, which is a little more than half of what we typically spend, and then $50,000 for township office repairs. And so what that does in turn, it leaves us with a surplus, a net income of $88,000 versus the negative $61,000. We have a couple of
I don't
other
want to
things.
burst the bubble yet, but we still have to deal salaries, so that's going to go down a little bit. At least there's money to play
Thank you.
with. Yeah.
I was getting to that. So we still
Okay.
have to then discuss the salaries, but we haven't done any salary discussions tonight. I think the board will just have a separate discussion on our own to discuss what we want to do with salaries, and then we'll come back. So what we need to do is the five of us need to get together probably sometime before the next board
Regular
meeting.
Yeah, right.
And discuss what we want to do with salaries. And
So
then
I'm sorry, just to be clear, is the current like 2023 salary in there just not an increase? Is that what we're talking about?
So Melissa, that's my understanding, right? I thought you said Stacy's you did increase, but you and Jeff, you didn't. You want to take us through that? So we have numbers.
Yeah, that's correct. Like I didn't increase Jeff or I wanted to increase Stacy.
Okay. I got you.
that's for 2024, right?
Right.
2024, yeah. And I hope you guys like really increase her, and I can't live without her, and I'm sure Jeff can't live without her.
But you put a number in here that you're happy with. We could talk about Stacy now. At least you put in 46.8. Am I looking at it the correct way?
And what number?
46.8.
Yeah,
46.8 to 52 salaried.
Why don't we pull it? It's line 405-115.
405. Oh, there it is. Secretary, admin. So wait. So let me just go back here. We're $104,000 in 2021.
For what?
It says secretary, PT, admin. 2021 actual was $104,000.
Oh, well, remember we combined like salaries to
okay. That's right.
Get current.
So then we split it out.
And that was a full-time.
And then,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then you had 3 part-time people in there doing that.
Right. And then so we got rid of that situation, and that dropped it to about, so now we dropped the secretary admin cost of the township from $104,000 in 2021 to $35,000 in 2023. And what we're suggesting is an increase to $46,000.
52. You guys can have that discretion, but
so you're just to be clear, your range is 46 to 52 is what you're saying. You want us to you're not happy with 46. You'd rather have it closer.
yeah, I would rather have Stacy at 52 if it was my way.
Would she be full-time then?
She better not.
I think she should. I think she should be full time.
So I will. I love Stacy, but we will need to talk about that because we reduced the hours to the office with the understanding that that would allow us to have a part-time secretary. To have to go back to a situation where we still have the reduced hours. Now we're saying we need a full-time secretary. I would just need to
Don,
understand.
I'm working full-time hours. I'm in there 8 to 4.
Yeah, so I think we just need to talk about that. I'm sorry, Stacey, I didn't realize you were on. I think you do a great job, but I just remember all the conversations we had about this. We just need to.
Can I ask a question? What was the 35,000 in 23 based on how many hours per week? 30?
What year?
23. We had 35,000 budgeted, and that was based on how many hours that Stacy would work a week.
Well, Stacy came in partially for 2023.
Yeah. So
But
Hours.
when she came into 2023, I'm reminding you guys, like Jeff and I were doing a lot of her job. And then Stacy came in and she took over all the part-time people. And Stacy rose to the occasion.
mhm. So I think the board, we need to discuss this because we need to discuss the whole office at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so why don't
we
we just
do.
why don't we just talk about this in our exec session to continue with the plan? We'll just have a discussion with all three on
Okay.
all three.
I-
Before that meeting, Melissa, can you send us the salary? Make sure that we have the salary details for the three of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
As well as bonuses paid out the last year or two, so we can
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
have
you.
a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. So Jim, you came in late, which is fine, but do you have any comments that you wanted to share with the group? I think
Yeah.
I summarized.
I'm sorry, I didn't get this until tonight. So the revised budget. So I will definitely, I'm going to go through this. Well, actually, I think you made some changes, so I might go to the office tomorrow and see if I can get a copy of the changes that were made tonight. And then I'll go through it line by line. I just want to do that anyway. I want to get more familiar with it. So if I do have any changes, I'll bring them up in email form. Is that okay?
I'll send this copy. This is just the copy that I was messing with tonight.
Okay.
So Melissa will have her original copy, and then I'll send this one as mine, so you'll know that this is what I edited tonight.
Okay.
So the
I have
other
the
piece. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I have the original one already.
Okay. And I think the other thing that I mentioned while you weren't here was the what we're going to be doing, like the process. So we had a meeting tonight. We will have one more opportunity to kind of just really tear into this thing. That'll be at the board meeting in the official board meeting in November. Then we advertise. The December meeting is where we vote to approve. I will ask this question at the board meeting, but just so Guy can confirm. But if my memory serves, is once we advertise, we are still able to make minor changes to the document, but we can't make major changes to the document, right? So if we're taking, if we're looking at, I don't know, I'm just going to pick two lines, animal control and hazmat. We decide that hazmat needs more money and animal control needs a little bit less money, and we move a couple $100 here and there. That's not going to break anything. But no major changes after we advertise. Because this is an election year, any new board members will get the opportunity, just like you did when we reopened the books in January. So there'll be the org meeting, And then we'll have a board meeting where I think we vote to reopen the books. I don't think it happens without a motion.
Yeah.
Then I think when you came on, we just opened them and closed them immediately. I don't think we did.
That's
much.
exactly what we did. Yeah, I didn't have any change.
Yeah. So we may do that. We may not do that. It's up to, the board will be new. So it's up to what we decide at that point. So we will have technically another round where we can make some changes this year. But I think we did some good work tonight. So I thank the board. Do we want to talk about anything else related to the budget? Don't want to prematurely close this discussion out.
Yeah, I just want to commend Melissa for doing a great job on this. So thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you for explaining
guys.
these things to us, because it can be very confusing, and the rules that you're dealing with are I sometimes don't understand them myself. So I appreciate you the patience that you have with us as we ask all of our questions. So all right.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so with that, let's move to our second public comment. This public comment can include comments on anything attendees might want to share. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a township resident or a taxpayer of the township. All right, so
Oh, wait a second, Dave.
oh boy.
I have a funny.
Yeah, we can use funny.
What are you
And
going
I'm
to do?
joking.
I know what you're going to do.
Oh no.
Nothing. It was just a funny. All right. Good night, everybody. Love everybody. See you.
All right.
What are we missing here? What's happening?
All right.
Are we out of here, or do we have
So
to adjourn?
I was
confused.
opening up to public comment, and then
Okay.
and Melissa said something. So I also just want to say, I know there's not that many members of the public comment. I think you saw that Lynn joined us. For those of you watching on YouTube or watch tonight is election night eve, so please go out tomorrow and vote. And I want to wish good luck to everybody in their individual campaigns, and have a great day tomorrow. Remember, we all live together. We're all neighbors. So have some fun and enjoy the day. All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
No, everyone.
Bye.
See
Love
most of you
everybody.
tomorrow.
See ya.
Okay.
Yeah.